8 everyday foods that help reduce artery inflammation. You have probably spent decades avoiding fat to protect your heart. Here is what almost nobody tells you. A landmark study published in the American Heart Association's own journal found that people with completely normal cholesterol can still face a sharply higher risk of heart attack, simply because of something standard blood work rarely measures, called inflammation. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, especially if you have an existing heart condition. Two people can walk into the same doctor's office, get the exact same cholesterol numbers back, and still face two very different futures. One of them may go on to live decades without a single cardiac event. The other may face a heart attack within a few short years. The difference often comes down to inflammation, a slow, quiet process happening inside the artery walls that most routine checkups never even look for. By the end of this video, we will walk through 8 everyday foods that research has linked to lower artery inflammation, and we will save one of the most surprising ones for later, because it is not the one most people expect. Let's take a moment to understand what is actually happening inside your arteries before we get into the foods themselves. Your arteries are lined with a thin layer of cells called the endothelium. Think of it as the inner skin of a blood vessel, smooth and flexible under healthy conditions. When this lining becomes irritated, whether from stress, poor sleep, smoking, or certain dietary patterns, the immune system responds the same way it would to an injury. It sends in inflammatory cells to repair the area. Over time, if that irritation keeps happening again and again, the repair process itself can contribute to the buildup of plaque. That is the process many doctors now believe plays a central role in heart disease, and it is also why diet has become such an important area of research. The encouraging part of this story is that food is not only capable of causing inflammation, it can also help calm it. Researchers have spent decades studying which nutrients seem to support a healthier inflammatory response, and a clear pattern has started to emerge. Certain foods, eaten regularly as part of an overall healthy lifestyle, may be associated with lower markers of inflammation in the blood, better function of that delicate artery lining we just talked about, and in some studies, a reduced risk of cardiovascular events. None of this means any single food acts like a magic pill. It means that small, consistent choices repeated over months and years may add up to something meaningful. With that foundation in place, let's walk through the 8 foods. Number 1. Fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and other fatty fish sit at the top of most cardiologists' recommendations, and for good reason. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, a type of fat your body cannot produce on its own, which means it has to come from your diet. Omega-3 fats appear to work by helping to lower the production of certain inflammatory compounds in the body, while also supporting the flexibility of the artery walls. Several long-term studies have followed populations that eat fish regularly, such as coastal communities in Japan and parts of the Mediterranean, and researchers have consistently observed lower rates of cardiovascular disease in these groups compared to populations that eat very little fish. Consider Robert, a 68-year-old retired teacher who mentioned to his doctor that he had never been much of a fish eater. His blood work showed elevated inflammatory markers alongside borderline cholesterol numbers. His doctor suggested adding fatty fish to his meals twice a week, nothing extreme, just a realistic and sustainable change. 6 months later, at his follow-up appointment, his inflammatory markers had improved. Stories like this do not prove that fish alone made the difference, since Robert also walked more and reduced processed food in that time, but they do reflect the kind of pattern researchers see again and again. If fresh fish is not easily available where you live, canned sardines or mackerel packed in water can offer a convenient and affordable alternative. Number 2. Extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil has become almost synonymous with heart health, largely because of its central role in the Mediterranean diet, one of the most extensively studied eating patterns in the world. What makes this oil stand out is not just the type of fat it contains, but a group of plant compounds called polyphenols. These compounds appear to have a direct calming effect on inflammatory processes within blood vessels. A landmark study known as the PREDIMED trial, conducted in Spain, found that participants who consumed olive oil as their primary source of fat experienced meaningfully lower rates of major cardiovascular events compared to those following a low-fat diet. The key word here is extra virgin, since this version of the oil goes through minimal processing, which allows it to retain far more of those beneficial polyphenols compared to refined or light olive oils. Using it to dress a salad, drizzle over cooked vegetables, or as a base for cooking at moderate temperatures allows you to take advantage of its properties without needing to overhaul your entire diet. Even modest amounts, used consistently, have been linked in research to measurable improvements in markers of vascular inflammation. Number 3. Berries. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, and raspberries owe much of their vibrant color to a group of compounds called anthocyanins. These compounds are not just responsible for the visual appeal of berries. They also appear to play an active role in reducing oxidative stress, a process closely linked to inflammation and closely tied to how quickly artery walls may age. A study published in the American Heart Association's journal Circulation followed thousands of women over more than a decade and found that those who ate more berries had a notably lower risk of heart attack compared to those who ate them rarely. What makes berries particularly appealing as part of a heart-conscious routine is how easily they fit into daily life. They require no preparation. They can be added to oatmeal, yogurt, or eaten on their own. And even frozen berries, which are often more affordable and last much longer, appear to retain most of their beneficial compounds. For someone looking for a simple, low-effort way to support artery health, a daily handful of berries is one of the easiest changes to make. Number 4. Leafy green vegetables. Spinach, kale, arugula, and other leafy greens contain naturally occurring compounds called dietary nitrates. Inside the body, these nitrates are converted into nitric oxide, a molecule that helps blood vessels relax and widen, which in turn supports healthy blood flow and may ease the burden placed on the artery lining. Leafy greens are also rich in vitamin K and a wide range of antioxidants, both of which have been studied for their potential role in reducing inflammatory activity within the cardiovascular system. Margaret, a 72-year-old grandmother from Ohio, shared with her physician that she had struggled for years with mildly elevated blood pressure. Rather than starting with medication right away, her doctor encouraged her to try adding a serving of leafy greens to her lunch and dinner each day. Over the following months, alongside other small lifestyle adjustments, her blood pressure readings gradually improved. Her doctor was careful to note that leafy greens were only one part of the picture, working alongside better hydration and reduced sodium intake. But Margaret still describes that daily spinach salad as the change that felt the most manageable to stick with long-term. Number 5. Walnuts. Among all the tree nuts, walnuts hold a somewhat unique position because they contain a plant-based source of omega-3 fatty acids called alpha-linolenic acid, something not found in large amounts in most other nuts. Research published in respected nutrition journals has associated regular walnut consumption with improved function of the endothelium, that delicate inner lining of the arteries we discussed earlier in this video. Some studies have also observed reductions in a specific inflammatory marker, called C-reactive protein, among people who eat walnuts regularly. A common concern people raise is that nuts are high in calories, and understandably so, since a single cup of walnuts contains a substantial amount of energy. However, several studies looking at nut consumption and body weight have found that when walnuts are used to replace less healthy snack options rather than added on top of an existing diet, they are not typically associated with weight gain. A small handful, roughly the amount that fits in the palm of your hand, appears to be enough to gain potential cardiovascular benefits without significantly affecting daily calorie intake. Number 6. Turmeric. Turmeric, the golden spice long used in South Asian cooking and traditional medicine, contains a compound called curcumin, which has become one of the most studied natural anti-inflammatory substances in nutritional science. Laboratory and clinical research suggests curcumin may help reduce the activity of specific molecules involved in the body's inflammatory signaling pathways. Some smaller clinical trials have found that curcumin supplementation was associated with improvements in markers related to artery function, although researchers are careful to note that more large-scale studies in humans are still needed before firm conclusions can be drawn. One important detail often left out of conversations about turmeric is that curcumin, on its own, is not particularly well absorbed by the human body. Traditional Indian cooking has long paired turmeric with black pepper, and modern science has confirmed there is a good reason for that pairing. A compound in black pepper called piperine has been shown to significantly increase the body's ability to absorb curcumin. Adding a pinch of black pepper whenever you use turmeric in cooking may make a meaningful difference in how much of this beneficial compound your body actually gets to use. Number 7. Garlic. Garlic has been valued for its potential health benefits for thousands of years, long before modern science had the tools to explain why. Today, researchers understand that garlic contains a compound called allicin, which is released when garlic is crushed or chopped, and which appears to have properties that support healthy blood vessel function. Multiple studies have looked at garlic's effect on blood pressure, and while results vary somewhat depending on the study, a number of them have found modest reductions in blood pressure among people who consumed garlic regularly over several weeks or months. There is a small but important detail worth mentioning here. Allowing chopped or crushed garlic to sit for about 10 minutes before cooking, it appears to help preserve more of its beneficial compounds, since the enzyme responsible for producing allicin needs a short window of time to do its work before heat can deactivate it. This is a simple habit that costs nothing and takes almost no extra effort, yet it may help you get more benefit from a food many people already use in their cooking on a regular basis. Number 8. Avocado. We saved this one for later because it tends to surprise people, given how often avocado gets grouped in with high-fat foods to avoid. In reality, the fat found in avocado is largely monounsaturated, the same type of heart-supportive fat found in olive oil. Research has associated regular avocado consumption with improved cholesterol profiles, including higher levels of the protective cholesterol, often referred to as HDL. And avocados also provide a meaningful amount of potassium, a mineral that plays an important role in regulating blood pressure. A study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association followed participants over several weeks and found that those who ate one avocado daily, as part of a diet moderate in healthy fats, experienced reductions in a marker of oxidized LDL cholesterol, a form of cholesterol more closely linked to artery damage than standard LDL measurements alone. This finding adds to a growing body of evidence suggesting that not all fats behave the same way inside the body, and that the source and quality of dietary fat may matter just as much as the total amount consumed. Standing back and looking at all 8 of these foods together, a clear theme starts to emerge. None of them work through some rare or exotic mechanism. They rely on nutrients your body already knows how to use, delivered consistently over time. Omega-3 fats, polyphenols, antioxidants, dietary nitrates, and specific plant compounds each play a supporting role in helping to calm the inflammatory processes that, left unchecked, may contribute to artery damage over the years. What research increasingly suggests is that no single food acts alone. It is the overall pattern, meal after meal, season after season, that appears to matter most for long-term cardiovascular health. It is also worth being honest about the limits of this kind of research. Much of what we know comes from observational studies, which can show strong associations between certain eating patterns and better artery health, but cannot always prove direct cause and effect in the way a controlled clinical trial can. Genetics, physical activity, sleep quality, stress levels, and overall diet all interact with each other in ways scientists are still working to fully understand. This is exactly why it may be helpful to think of these 8 foods not as a strict checklist, but as building blocks that can support a broader, sustainable approach to eating well. Before we close, let's return to that number many people find striking. In the PREDIMED trial we mentioned earlier, participants who followed a Mediterranean-style diet rich in extra virgin olive oil experienced approximately a 30% reduction in major cardiovascular events compared to those on a standard low-fat diet. That is not a small number, and it reflects what years of consistent, everyday choices can potentially add up to over time. If there is one message worth carrying away from this video, it is that artery health is not built in a single meal, and it is not undone by one either. It is shaped gradually by the small, repeated choices we make most days of our lives. Adding a serving of fatty fish here A handful of berries there, swapping an extra virgin olive oil where you might normally reach for something else. These are not dramatic changes, but research suggests they may matter more than most people realize. We would love to hear from you. Which of these 8 foods do you already include in your regular meals, and which one are you thinking about adding this week? Let us know in the comments below, since hearing what works for real people often helps others feel more confident about making their own changes. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. And if you would like to see more evidence-based videos like this one, subscribing helps us know to keep making them. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.